Yo, what's going on, guys? SMH Super Mario Hoops back with some more hoops, and today we are going to be diving into our top 50 list. And as you might recognize, since I just said I'm diving into it, and with Carmelo Anthony being the topic of this video, yes, he is ranked number 50 on the list. Now, I'm going to dive into a lot about Carmelo Anthony here in a second, but if you haven't already, just be sure to drop a like, drop a little subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you'll see all the videos that I'm going to be dropping for this top 50 list. I'll put them all in a playlist as well, so it'll be a lot easier to navigate through them, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. I'm just uploading them in alphabetical order to create a little mystery behind it. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting with Carmelo Anthony and what he has accomplished over his career. As we know, he was a 10-time NBA All-Star. Every year pretty much from 2007 to 2017, except for the 08-09 season, where he did miss about 20 or so games with an injury. In terms of his All-NBA accolades, he's made 6 All-NBA teams over the course of his career. Twice he made second-team All-NBA in 2010 and 2013, and he made third-team All-NBA in 2006, 2007, 2009, which was actually the season that we were just talking about, and 2012. So he still got some recognition for the 2008-2009 season. But in terms of scoring championships in his career, he is a one-time NBA scoring champ in 2012-2013 with the New York Knicks. He kind of stole it from Kevin Durant in the last week of the season. Melo was kind of going off just to end that season. In terms of playoff appearances, he has 13 total, including 10 straight to start his NBA career, which is something a lot of players can't actually say. However, in terms of these 13 playoff appearances that he does have, 11 of them did happen to be first-round exits. Now, we'll see what happens this year, obviously with the Lakers. Maybe he'll get past the first round for the first time in several seasons. But right now, as we're making this list, he has 11 of 13 first-round exits. But in 2009 was the first year that he got past the first round, and he lost in the Western Conference Finals to the LA Lakers in 6 games. As of right now, this is his closest chance to getting an NBA championship. In 2013 with the New York Knicks, he lost in the Eastern Conference semifinals, also in 6 games to the Indiana Pacers, who would go on to challenge the Heat in 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, the cool thing about Melo is that he's one of a few players to have several 20-point-per-game seasons to start his career. Every year from 2003 to 2017, he was averaging over 20 a game, which is actually 14 straight seasons. And actually, the only players that have more than that are Michael Jordan and LeBron James. In terms of the regular season scoring output, he's averaged about 22.98 points per game, which is good for 26 on the all-time list. In terms of the playoffs, he's at about 23.06, which is relatively similar, but that ranks him 34th all-time. But however, his usage rate is sitting at about 30.1%, and that's at 11th in NBA history. Now, let's look at similarity scores, because this is something that I feel like a lot of people don't really recognize. They usually want to see how many points, assists, rebounds, field goal percentage. Some might even look in the true shooting percentage and stuff like that. But similarity scores, it's basically a comparison of your win shares throughout the years. And it kind of gives a good example on how effective you were toward your team's success. But in terms of his peak years, he actually has lower similarity score outputs than Alex English, than Rasheed Wallace, Buck Williams, and Otis Thorpe, 4 players that were all used in comparison to him. But in terms of the eye test, in terms of Carmelo Anthony's scoring efficiency, you might place him as something around top 30 or top 40 all time, just based on the fact that he never was truly too efficient. However, he's always been a pretty solid 3-point shooter. The free throw has never really been a concern either. However, this is one of the things where you got to look at how good the player just actually is. In terms of his skill set and bag, you could make an argument that he's top 10, maybe top 15 in terms of scorers all time. Now, a little bit towards his defense, it's obviously never been great. I will give him credit, though, in the sense that he's probably one of the strongest players at his position, whether it's the 3 or the 4. So if someone's, posting him up, there's never really been too much of a mismatch there. But usually on the perimeter, or if he's utilizing his rim protection or something like that, he's probably going to get exposed, as much as Melo fans probably won't want to admit it. His 3-point shooting, it became a really strong suit in New York. It wasn't too bad in Denver, but I think more so now than in his prime, it's been brought to great emphasis. I mean, we saw him last year with Portland. He shot over 40% from three. So I think that he's starting to develop into something more geared toward today's era, and that's pretty great. We shouldn't really hold him to accountable for that back then either, because that wasn't really his role. You know, he was just supposed to be Melo and stay Melo, as he would say. But he was just supposed to go out there, you know, score the way that he did. In terms of people at his position, he's actually a great rebounder. I mean, he had multiple seasons where he was about 8-9 rebounds a game, especially that one year with the Knicks where he played power forward. That was arguably his best season of his career. I would probably say it was his best season of his career. Now, of course, one thing about Melo, and sometimes people label this with some of the greatest scorers, like even Kobe gets this sometimes, but he wasn't a great facilitator. And yeah, you could argue against that, I think, for Kobe. It's hard to argue against that for Melo. You know, he's a great playmaker individually for himself. Of course, though, in terms of creating for other players, it's not quite on that level as other guys at his position all the time, like LeBron or Larry Bird. And I think another thing is the fact that with Melo, you never got that sense that he bought into the aspect of winning until after the Houston Rockets let him go in the fashion they did. I mean, as a Bulls fan, I remember in 2014 when we gave him a solid offer, he could have signed with us, joined Derrick Rose, a young Jimmy Butler, Joakim Noah, and all those players on our team and possibly competed for a championship. But he decided to stay for the money, and that's the whole reason that we ended up signing Pau Gasol. And we still had a pretty solid chance that year. Kind of got screwed in the playoffs, but if Melo came to our team, there's a good chance that maybe he wins a championship. In terms of his consistency, even though Melo is only a 44.7% field goal percentage shooter in his career, it should be noted that much like Kobe Bryant, he always takes a lot of tougher shots. I know we're making a lot of comparisons to Kobe here, but just stay with me. And a lot of that is also because of, one, how a lot of the teams were structured that he was on in his career, and two, for the simple fact that he was the most deadly threat. Yeah, he still always shot above 40% from the field and under 50% in regular seasons, which you might think he never had an outstanding efficiency season, but in a way that's kind of better because you know that he's going to be consistent. You know what he's going to give you every season, majority of nights. Obviously, nobody's perfect. Everyone always has bad games. Everyone always has great games, like when he scored 62 points and essentially no other stats at the Garden. However, it should be noted that he has also had some playoff blunders, including in his rookie year. He had a 2-point and 4 turnover Game 4 loss that resulted in elimination on 1 for 16 shooting from the field with the Denver Nuggets. He also had a 7-point Game 6 loss as the Jazz eliminated OKC in 2018. I know more people like to pinpoint that game on Paul George because, well, Paul George simply was probably the worst player for the Thunder that game. Of course, Westbrook also took like 46 shots and wasn't too efficient himself, but really Melo wasn't feeling himself that night either. I mean, 7 points for a guy that was averaging about 16 to 17 for the season. I think that you could have accounted for more from him. However, a weird fact about Carmelo Anthony is that even though he's been in the league going into his 19th season now, he's never actually played into a Game 7 in the playoffs. Now, this could be interesting because it could show us, a true playoff atmosphere of a clutch performer. Because remember, just about a decade ago, people all over like ESPN, all over Bleacher Report, all the biggest media sources that you can find about the NBA, they were saying that Carmelo Anthony was one of the clutchest players when he first got to the New York Knicks. And it would be interesting to see how he plays in a Game 7 because, maybe he could execute in this condition, or maybe he'll blunder. We don't know. And actually, since the 2003-2004 season, he's actually been the best in the NBA at hitting shots in the final 30 seconds of a game to give his team a lead for good. He has done this 26 times, which is better than Kobe Bryant with 22, more than LeBron James with 20, more than Dirk Nowitzki with 18, and more than Dwayne Wade with 16. And if you want it done in the final 5 seconds, he's done that 17 times, which is 4 more than any other player. I mean, just in terms of clutch moments, as a Bulls fan, again, I remember too well when he hit that shot to force overtime and win in overtime against my Bulls on Easter Sunday in 2012. So overall, when we're here to rank Carmelo Anthony, he is an all-time talent. And he's a player that I give more leeway for his natural talent as opposed to his trophy case, because sometimes you need context when you're looking at someone's accolades and achievements. So like I said, this whole list is going to be subjective to my personal opinion in the best way I can arrange them, but I've also seen a ton of people say great and terrible things about Melo. There's people that think maybe he's arguably the best scorer ever, a top 5 scorer ever, and I don't really believe that, but at the same time, there's people saying that he was always overrated and a perennial loser, and I don't really feel that way about him either. And with that, I will call him properly rated, because I think the mean average for where he's placed on an all-time list is roughly around top 50. It could be about as high as 40 or as low as 60, but more so around like the 45 to 55 range to be exact. And 50 is right in the middle. So it seems like it's the most reasonable spot for him. And who knows? I mean, obviously, like I said, if he wins a championship this year with the Lakers, if he has a huge impact for that team, if he's the thing that turns them around and gets his first championship and the Lakers to their most championships ever with 18, then maybe we could be looking at Carmelo Anthony on a better ranked spot on this list. But right now, I had to get him in the top 50. I mean, it's only right. A top 50 without Carmelo Anthony, that's just kind of messed up. Of course, you guys, you're all entitled to your own opinions and stuff like that, but I personally couldn't do it. I mean, he's one of the best mid-range scorers ever. He had a really underrated rookie season. I personally think he should have won Rookie of the Year over LeBron that season. And then he always will be Melo. I know some people talking about LaMelo Ball, but Carmelo Anthony will always be the real Melo. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. And there's going to be a lot more videos because there's a lot more players to cover. So I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'm out. Peace.